Social confidence is closer than you think. If you think about it, why are you not confident? I'm assuming you're watching this and click this because you're not socially confident. And I wasn't socially confident out of my mother's womb either. Initially, I actually was a bit like, just like kind of weird, if that makes sense. Like, I wasn't confident. I wasn't like so unconfident where I'm like that guy, kind of in the corner of the room who's just like not talking to anyone, who's kind of like the introvert and like everyone knows they are the introvert. Definitely wasn't that, and definitely wasn't the most like high school jockey, sports captain kind of social person, just out of the box, right? So how I garnered the skills over so many years to just be socially confident was really a step by step framework, which once you know it, you'll be like, oh, it's super obvious. Like, I wish I knew this earlier, and now you know, right? So here's the thing. What in the world is being confident, and what is the difference between being confident and then socially confident? So let's say internally, if you know yourself, you're like, I'm comfortable doing X. I know that I don't want to be out past 10 p.m. because of whatever reason. I know that, blah, blah, blah. You have your punch list checklist of, what makes you confident in yourself. In other words, you're content, you're happy. So you're not, let's say, unconfident, aka you're not sad, you're not, any feeling that's just not positive. And so when you're confident, it's basically like being positive. And if you're getting everything you want, if you're an introvert, then maybe that's confidence in your own like situation, right? But socially, if you just do as you please, maybe in society that's looked at as this guy is kind of, or person, individual, doesn't matter, right? They're doing what they want to do, but that doesn't scream confidence to the whole of society. That screams, oh, you're confident in your own regimen, and that's cool, good for you, right? But that's not really being socially involved or, just a part of the greater everyone coming together, which is what creates society. So the difference of social confidence now is okay, maybe you are afraid of cold approaching people to say hi, hello, or hey, it's like, hi, hope you have a nice day, and you don't know how to respond to that, or the inverse, or you just like don't know what you don't know. It means you just haven't tried enough actions in the right maybe path to get to that end result. And the biggest framework that helped me was basically, okay, if I don't try and I do absolutely nothing, nothing will change. And so me, when I was younger, similar to confidence, the confidence of being of a certain strata or status, or identifying with, hey, I am expected to be rich and the rich do X, so let me go live that life ahead. Not necessarily through spending, but in terms of social confidence, how I knew how I needed to, let's say, act or wanted to act and appreciate it, and, whatever made sense for me, but also in both ways. So I was confident myself, but socially, this would be viewed as confident too. So I would go to like 5-star hotel lobbies, just see the demeanor, see what's going on, take a seat, look around, breathe the fresh air, just see how people sit, how people talk, how people greet each other, just how it is to be quote unquote normal in this little bubble. And so when I noticed this, I realized, okay, then dealing with certain people, it was seeing how confidence in different circles is different. So like social confidence, maybe in, your teens or your younger years, depending on which type of folks you're around or which groups, like that has its own kind of subculture in each little small group, which in my generation, you have maybe, let's say, the people that are doing, illicit things. You have the sports people, you have the nerds, you have the people who are into music, you have those into maybe theater. And so it really kind of like based on what you do, you have your little circle. And so to be socially confident in one circle or the other just depends on what that social circle views as confidence. If it's theater, it's, hey, you're able to express yourself in the craft. Hey, if you're a sports person, and let's just say there's some party and you need to do some crazy things to wow those people with more adrenaline, more testosterone, that type of stuff. Maybe if it's card game enthusiasts, maybe social confidence is being able to be yourself but then hold down your game plus being able to talk about it, versus just being really good at the game, but then if you don't talk, maybe card game people are like, oh, this person's kind of weird, they're so technical but they're really good at the game, so there's a respect, but you're not really someone who someone's willing to introduce to the next person because confidence speaks and confidence is everything. Oh gosh, 1 second, I'll be right back. That was my dog leaving the room. So coming back to the point, social confidence, different circles have their levels of what is even considered being confident in those circles. So first of all, if you know yourself, you know that, okay, this is what I associate with. This is me being me for me being confident, all these things. So, coming now to the framework, which once you know this, GG, good game. You'll know exactly how to succeed in any which given situation, regardless of which group or, vertical of people you associate with. So, Oprah Winfrey, famous billionaire, famous talk show host for many, many years, had these three things to say. Do you hear me? Do you see me? Does what I say matter? These three things are what humans basically care about. End of the day, this is exactly and the only things that they care about. So if you know this, so in any social group, do you hear me? So when people are speaking to you, like, do you hear them? Right? It's easy to just kind of look away or look, elsewhere, or just not even feel like you're giving that other person attention, like you're actually listening to them. So let's say you're feeling heard, right? And let's say, do you see me? So let's say I'm looking straight at us, I'm listening to you. So that's great, right? But does what I say matter? So imagine I listen to you for like a minute or two of talking, and then, all the things, the dialogue is going in, I'm looking at you. But if I just kind of walk away right after, more than confusing, it's kind of like, like this person doesn't even care, does what I say matter, right? So when you can show all those three things, it almost screams a different level of confidence, because the assumption here is you're so confident in yourself, you're not caring what, and how you are perceived by the counterparty or anyone looking at you. And now you're able to do the inverse. You're able to listen to someone, give them the attention, and just, be in the moment with them, be in the present. And that itself is more than confidence. If you try to do this by being the inverse of no confidence, what happens? You basically just can't give this attention to somebody, because you always have this dilemma or second type of purpose of, oh, this is all cool, but how do I fall into social hierarchy? And the, interesting, funny, kind of ironic thing here is, if you try to mold and be like everybody else and fit in, that's not really confidence. That's being a follower. That's being a sheep. That's being exactly what confidence isn't, because confidence by virtue is being basically out there, or the outlier, or just having that thing that others don't. And so the flip side argument is, let's say, all these alpha males, right? Not in the human sense, but even like alpha primates, right? So if you have these alpha tendencies, you get a bunch of alphas in the room. What happens? Is it that, one person is technically less confident than the other? Let's just say everyone's the same confidence. Then what is confidence, right? If everybody's confident, then what is confidence? I'll tell you what it is. It's a streamlined thought of, now that social confidence, all those things are out the window. It doesn't matter. Like, all that is a baseline. Okay, we're all confident. So now what's the next step? Let's just get down to business. Let's do the next step. The next thing actually is possible. Decisions are able to be made, because there's no emotional thought of, oh, how am I perceived by others? What are all these feelings? Social confidence, like, now I'm socially confident. And then what happens next? Why do you even want to be socially confident, basically? And once you are, okay, cool, the skill, check mark, check, done. If I need something, I can be socially confident to then deal with other people, to then say, okay, my network is my net worth, to say, hey, I don't know how to do something, society, drop the ego and say, hey, I need help doing X, and then getting that result, because you're able to be socially confident to do the next step. If you're just trying to be confident because you look at other people that are confident and you wish you could be them, like, now let's say you are. What happens next? Does it mean that everyone's actually talking to you or not? Sometimes when you're overconfident, people who are not confident enough don't even want to approach you, because they're not confident enough to even realize that you're at some level and now you're unapproachable. So some people want to be socially confident, but the question I would ask you is, do you really want to be, if you literally are not going to get the results that you think you're going to get? Like, obviously, just me saying that means no, you don't want it. In other words, know the why behind why you're trying to do something, and what happens if you get that something and you actually don't get the result on the other side that you probably wanted in the first place. So coming back to what I was saying is, more than confidence, it's about what is the point of what you're doing. It's almost asking, like, these things are cool, right? It's like how to be the best mathematician in the world. Okay, let's say you are. Now what? You can be the best, but can you solve those things, those like primal kind of questions? Can you answer it with math of, like, the Big Bang Theory and the origin and the history? And like, is that what it is, right? But math is based on heuristics and assumptions and axioms and certain things that are basically like, hey, if these things hold true, then math can math. In other words, social confidence is, if society changes, can you be confident in each and every changing society or subculture, culture, new generation, new kind of thing? Like, how can you do it? Because confidence in my generation may be different from confidence in the, lower generation, like Gen Z, Alpha, all these, generations coming out. Because to them, for example, in the millennial Gen Z or kind of the generation, like, to be confident is not to be old school confident, where that's looked down upon in my generation. So to be old school confident, let's say you're that type of person that's like, well, they're, talking about some outcome and, I knew it was going to happen, but even if it didn't, what happens? In my generation, we call that a DICK. We call that a Richard, because, that type of person is just kind of egotistical. Like, it's like they're involved with themselves. So it's confident, but it doesn't exude confidence, if that makes sense, because they're coming from this position of this outcome is a label. In other words, look at my Porsche, look at my Ferrari, look at my Gucci, Louis, all of this. That's speaking in advance of who I am, of what I bring to the table in terms of confidence. Then in, let's say this Gen Z millennial confidence, it's kind of like, hey, good job there, sport. And then taking that compliment, not being like, oh, like, I know you complimented me now and I heard 5 other people compliment me. Like, that's not something we say, right? We would be like, oh, I appreciate it. It's like you're being humble is one way of exuding confidence, but then socially confident would be, ideally you seeing that next person. If you're a few steps or stages or years ahead of someone in a particular skill or what have us, and then going to that person and then acknowledging them, it's like, you're probably just sharing like a moment, right? But to them, they may think, wow, this person is so confident doing their own thing. And then they had that, feeling to just come down to my level and speak to someone who's maybe 5 years less experienced or 10 years less experienced, but you're actually providing the confidence to someone else, as crazy as it sounds. And that may translate to them to be socially confident in their own regard and keep on paying it / passing it forward. So all that to say, once you know the framework of literally just listen to the other side, you don't need to talk or not, but your being there is exuding confidence to the counterparty, because that expression where if you just do nothing, right? If I just stay silent and just look at your eyes, right? Sometimes that's also confidence, right? And so what happens there? It's basically forcing the other party, forcing their hand to do something. And this is more like business negotiation tactics and other things, right? But to be socially confident, what is there? Why are you even scared in the first place? It's like easy for me to say, maybe I'm on the other side. And before, I just didn't know that, would I be accepted? What if it's weird? What if I did something and it's not, all of that back and forth? Guess what? Every other person is most likely thinking about that. So to be socially confident is to do what? Just don't do that. Just be like, stop all the noise. What's the next step? Oh, that person doesn't think I'm going to say hi to them because whatever reason. Okay, go say hi to them. And even you will figure out, okay, oh my gosh, what happens next? Hi, then hello, then how are you? Then how was something? How is something? You just try to make small talk and you realize, okay, where's the substance? Then you realize, okay, you got to get deeper, got to get deeper. So you basically get these reps of going through the iterations of trying to talk with someone, trying to converse with them, trying to actually have a real conversation. And you realize there's 8 billion people in this planet and you can't have the same depth with so many people. And you realize, okay, social confidence is kind of like a farce, because after the first few steps, it's nothing, man. We're all human. We're all the same. We're just chilling. We're all just being and whatever it is, right? So it's almost like be confident because why not? Be socially confident because why not? Because it's not about how to be socially confident. It's why not be? And then if you're not, like, not what's wrong with you, right? But like, you'll realize like, hey, I can do that much better, which will build up your confidence because you've proven yourself X amount of times before, and you will, and you are doing it right now. And now you're just proving yourself in front of society. And society is what? Society is just a reflection of other people within ourselves, like total internal reflection, if you look it up in physics, where we're all just mirrors of each other. So there's nothing there to overthink about this, but you can do it. Go start having those conversations. I hope this video helped. And with that, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for the time. Peace.